Hi there, I'm Juliana Carroll, and this is my sister and partner in Coffee and Tech, Lisa Jackson. Together, we are your hosts here at the Coffee Tech Talk Show, exploring anything and everything to do with work orchestration and automation. We're here to be the catalyst for industry change by reaching beyond soulless solutions, listening, and learning from all our collective experiences. Most importantly, we're building a community of people who can share, learn, and grow together.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a new session of Coffee Tech Talk Show. I'm here with my sister as always, Juliana Carroll, and I'm Lee Jackson. And today we have a wonderful guest by the name of Willie Anderson. And it's lovely Jacksonville, Florida, and we want to introduce you to our guest. So with that said, Willie, how about you tell everyone about yourself,
yes.
Where you're from, what do you do, all that good stuff.
Okay, I'm going to give you the abbreviated version. So my name is Willie Anderson. I've been an IT leader for 30 years and about 4 months. I started at the age of 19 at Allstate Insurance Company. It was a way for me to pay for college. And so I started leading the off-shift computer operators at the age of 19. I had like 4 or 5 people, and then at some point I got another function, and then there was 40 people, and so here I was at 19, about to turn 20, and most of them were women. So I learned a lot about leading, inspiring, and talking to human beings and meeting them at their level. And quite frankly, my entire career has been in different IT leadership roles, mostly on the infrastructure side of the house. And I've never really held the same position for much longer than 3 years. So somewhere between years 1 and 3, there's some sort of movement that happens. So this started in Cleveland, Ohio, then it migrated its way to Chicago, and then made its way to Jacksonville here. So I lived in those 3 places.
Never boring, huh?
Never boring. But in that period of time, I've had the opportunity to lead pretty much any platform you can name, any OS, any platform, probably any appliance. And I've been fortunate to where I'm at a point where I've had leaders who've had leaders who have had people, and sometimes leaders who've had leaders who've had leaders who have people. So I've had multiple layers of management probably for the last 15 or more years, so more than half of my career has been in that role. So a lot of my perspective is a lot about the people portion, because oftentimes when you talk IT, you talk people, process, technology, and many spend a lot of time on technology, they spend a lot of time on process, and the hardest thing to deal with in that triangle is the people, by far, on any given day. And so I've made a career out of kind of decoding that and figuring that out and getting people to the point in which they're driving the process and technology. So I spend a lot of time on that.
When you say,
my perspective will come from there.
When you say decoding, you're saying decoding people?
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely. If you look at stats, one of the main reasons that people leave jobs is because of the manager that they work for.
That's true. I agree with that.
That's their main reason. So they're leaving a culture and they're leaving a leader. And a lot of people are empowered, so they know the power of choice is theirs. And they rise up and make that choice. And this younger generation, they have that in spades.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about, what you do. And Joe, you might want to review, tell everyone what we've talked about in our first 5 episodes and how we got to this point. And then we'll talk more about Willie.
So this is about workflow and workflow orchestration, and about how we make work better, faster, cheaper, right? And to your point, people, process, technology, and a lot of it is people and people orchestration, right? What I wanted to do is bring people that has experience doing work, orchestrating work, leading work, right? And solving problems, right, in real life. And so that the aim of it all is, again, to build a community of like-minded people, you know, around work and yes, workflow orchestration, but also to give back a little bit, right? We're now at the phase where we're leaders, right? So if there was a young Willie, what would you say to a young Willie? Just like, you know, there was a younger Juliana, what would I say to her, right? So, so we're gonna talk about work.
Yeah.
Right?
So with that said, you know, this is the easy question. How do you define work?
How do we define work? Well, there's a dictionary definition and there's a Willie definition, right?
The Willie version.
So the Willie version is there's some kind of effort or energy needed to achieve something. An outcome, preferably, is the desired outcome. But that's kind of how I would define it at a high level.
Okay. Very cool. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. There's a desired outcome. Otherwise, it's just things, doing things. Right? So we started as, you know, going to a coffee shop, right? So, and, you know, so at the time, the desired outcome was coffee, right? And then all the activities leading up to starting from you going to the coffee shop and ordering, and then making sure the barista had the right orders and payment and all, and so on. The desired outcome is having a cup of coffee, right? And one that is repeatable, one that you expect, one that you want, not a cold coffee, not a bitter coffee, or unless you want a bitter coffee, right? But the point is a desired outcome.
Absolutely right.
So, you know, this is actually our first time together. We've been doing this via Zoom due to what's been happening in the world. And so this is pretty exciting for us that the two of us get to be in here together and, you know, launch our first interview. And so congratulations, you're first on the list.
Awesome.
So we have to, we're going to hit a home run here today in our conversation. So the next question that we have is, what are the symptoms of good and, you know, a good work or a job well done to you?
Okay. The symptoms of good work, I would probably say when you achieve that desired outcome and it either meets or exceeds whatever the expectations are. But I got to add something to it. And a lot of that is because of my perspective, right? So my perspective as a leader of human beings and other leaders and things like that, many people, when they're doing work, they have the, I call it the hamster and wheel effect. Meaning you guys are seeing a hamster in a wheel run, you know, it's running his ass off, but it's not going anywhere. Right? It's just spinning. And I've noticed a lot of organizations and groups of people, they can get into that mindset. And what I've found out is they're not creative, their energy's low, they're not giving you their best thinking. So as a leader, I'm constantly trying to figure out, how do I get the best thinking? Not out of the people who report to me, but the people who report to them, how do we get their best thinking where they want to come and that's what they want to do? And so part of achieving a desired outcome is that the people achieved it, they had a hand in defining it and designing it. It wasn't me doing all the thinking. Right? The minute I'm doing all the thinking, we got a problem.
Yeah, I agree with that because part of desired outcome is who determines it's a good outcome is usually the receiver. And the receiver is usually the requester. But the request asks someone else to do it because maybe they don't have the expertise, right? I go to, you know, to almost said the name. I go to our favorite coffee shop because they make it better than I do, right? But I have to contribute to that expectation. I would say I want a hot black coffee that's not too acidic, right? And so, you know, and so who I ask it to, they say, well, you should choose this versus this because the subject matter expert and you don't know what kind of coffee is not too acidic, right? So it truly is a collaboration.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And I can often tell when the clients or customers, for lack of a better description, whether they're internal or external, the thank you notes, the hey, this was great. wait, you didn't just deliver what I asked for. You came and helped me figure out some other stuff. Like, I'll get that type of feedback. Yeah. And you can see the behavior and the people changing. So to me, I'm looking for that type of stuff. Getting work done, I'm gonna be blunt with you. Anybody could do that.
Right.
All I have to do as the boss is come down and decide and announce and say, this is what we're gonna get done. And kind of hold people's jobs accountable for getting that done. Now, I could lead that kind of culture.
Yeah.
It's not very imaginative. It's not, you're not gonna get best thinking out of people, right? And so to me, getting the work done is not enough. It has to get done the right way. The right energy level has to exist in the organization, the right kind of response from the customer so that they want to do more of it and take it even further. And what I'm looking for is that they start defining their goals that far reach what I'm thinking about. Okay. And when I get to that level, that's when I feel good about the work.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to over answer, but I wanted to give you that perspective.
Yeah. No, I think, as bosses, as you would say, I mean, we should be able to hire people that can do their jobs, right? So the accountability should be there. They need to know, you need to be able to give them that leeway to be able to do their job,
Absolutely.
right?
So what are your thoughts on workflow orchestration and synchronizing people to work together, right? We've been to a situation together where a problem was presented, and my approach a lot of times is sometimes you have to get down to the very, very mundane, low level, detailed level, and really listen and really observe and document, what they do, because people tend to work in their lanes, right? But as an orchestrator, just like any other symphony, there's different musical instruments, there are different skill set, and there are different, groups that you have to orchestrate to work together, right? So what are your thoughts about workflow orchestration, synchronization, automation? What things can be orchestrated and what things can be automated and what things you think maybe should not be, right?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you it's everything. I'm going to tell you that because I've always led in infrastructure.
Yeah.
And I've always had the same kind of 4 guiding principles. So whenever I sit down with my whole organization and we have a town hall or whatever, I tell them, look, whatever it is you're doing, we're going to think about these 4 things. We have to deliver fast.
Yeah.
So it always has to get faster.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be accurate.
Yeah.
It has to be stable. If it's going up and down every day, nobody wants what you have to offer.
Right.
And we have to have excellent stewardship, meaning costs, the energy we exert, we don't want to waste things, right? Like, I want you to apply that to everything.
Yeah.
And so in doing that, every job that I've ever had, there's always a delivery component. I'm either delivering an environment, I'm delivering a process of this, but normally it's environments, because I've always been in infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so when delivering environments, there's a multitude of teams, from security to your application teams that might have some piece parts, right? Storage. All the way through all your infrastructure teams, server, storage, database, this. Most things I build have a 3-tiered architecture. So there's a web, app, and database kind of component to it.
Yeah.
And so getting all those groups in concert with one another and making sure that the product is good and consistent. And then on top of that, all the things that go in there need to be consistent. So the images, I usually own the image. Like, what kind of OS are you going to put down? These are the monitoring components that go with it. These are the financial agents that go in, whatever is in there. So for me, it's everything. Every role I've ever had where I've had teams, I've always had to get involved in this. And it is funny because it's always, if you ask me my approach, which you're probably leading up to that, it's kind of like when we all first learned math. Right? When you first sat down, we had to do long division. I know the math is different for the kids now, so I don't even look at it. The way we learn math, we had to do long division and all that stuff by hand. before we were allowed to get the calculator, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so I kind of look at workflow orchestration that way.
Yeah.
If you don't know it by hand,
Right.
you don't really know all the teams,
Yeah.
all of this, all the handout. If you can't write that down and chart it out, then your orchestration, no matter what tool you buy, is going to be a nightmare. And I've been saying this for like 20 years. I stole it from somebody. I told them, listen, a fool with a new shiny tool is still a fool.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with that part first.
Right.
Then you can roll in your tools, whether you're leveraging ServiceNow, you're leveraging this. In my current delivery flow chain, there's a bunch of different tools in there because all the teams understand the mission.
Yeah.
And they're constantly making it faster.
Some of our outcomes sound sexy, right? Because it's automated. Now there's a portal. Now, now things are delivered automatically. But getting there is really is like nitty gritty, dirty job. Is having to understand literally how many things did you tell me, that I have to bring to the table at 2 a.m. in the morning, and how many 4 other people I have to bring, what kind of pieces of information at the exact same time, because you only have a 2-hour window.
Yeah.
And if you miss that 2-hour window, you won't have another chance until next weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no doubt.
So there's another 7-hour delay. So I like what you're saying, that you have to know the long end division manually before you can start using a calculator.
If you really want it to be good.
Yeah.
Jay, when I was about 27, I think, 26 or 27, I got picked to go to this intensive facilitative leader training.
Yeah.
Right? It was taught by Interactive Associates. We fly to Dallas. I'm stuck in this room for a week and a half or however long it was. And I mean, they put you to task. It was even, you had to stand and deliver a vision convincingly, and they were grading you on it. I was like, what? You had to master tools to help people agree with one another. So we had to practice this stuff real time, and they would send in random people that were disagreeing about something and make you practice the tools live, and then they would grade you, and it was pretty intense. And then I do a lot of charting, so I will stick big pieces of paper on the wall, and I write kind of what people are saying. And what that does is, oftentimes, we're saying something similar, it just sounds better coming out of my mouth versus your mouth. Because you ain't saying it quite right. I like it how it sounds out of my mouth, and I know what I'm talking about. But when you take it and put it on paper and you force different audiences to look at it, no matter what their perspectives are, they're forced to deal with it on that paper. So I force myself to write real neat, and I restate and get everybody looking. And a lot of that is to force us to hear and see each other, get kind of on a common language type of deal. And after doing that repeatedly for however long it takes, depending on the difficulty within the group, it might be some hours, they capture a rhythm and they want more of it. And we start going faster and we chart out more. They start sharing more and become more and more transparent. And Jay knows this. When people are transparent about what's happening in their piece of the machine, the workflow and the orchestration and the things that you can pull off because everybody's being honest and they're not worried about, hey, my baby's ugly, or when they start to feel that sense of we, that's when you can design some slick stuff. And then what happens is you as the leader can almost walk away because it takes on a life of its own.
Yeah.
They built it. Now they want to continuously improve it without you. If anything, they start telling you about cool crap they're doing.
Right.
To make it faster.
Yeah.
Right? All you have to do is put a little measurement at the end, and all that they're going to just constantly compete against the damn measurement. And so those are like some of the basic ingredients that I put in place with teams. So yes, it's everything.
In my world, in the events industry, there's a lot of moving parts, and our deadlines are very, very stringent, right? So it's like, if we don't make the deadline, the show don't happen. And we have never missed a show. We never miss that time. And top down, everybody has to work like clockwork. right? So if you know, I mean, if someone makes a mistake, you know, when you're talking about transparency, everybody needs to know about it so that we can fix it on the spot.
Yes.
And if we're, you know, 1 minute late, it's very bad. I mean, we actually have to be ready at least 4 hours before the actual trade show opens, right? Yeah, so that's what the customer expects, and that's what you have to deliver. So I totally understand that. The question is, what is your approach to get your projects approved, authorized, and funded?
Yes. Okay, let's get into this.
Okay.
So, first principle is a good idea is just a good idea unless it's bought and backed by the right people.
For sure.
Right?
Yep.
So who 100%. Are those
100%.
right people? If you can't list out who those right people are, then you're done before you even get started. So let's just so we're going to assume everybody understands what that means.
Yeah.
Right? The next thing is, for every successful project, especially if it involves some sort of technology or tooling or something like that, my approach to make it really simple is to get it in-house in a proof of concept or proof of value type of scenario at no charge to me. Right? So vendor A, B, or C, if you're interested in selling something and it fulfills something within our workflow that helps, you know, our objectives, et cetera, right? Then you're going to come to the table as a partner. If you can't do that, I can't do business with you because you don't understand how partnership works, and you're not a vendor that I'll really be able to leverage, right? And so normally I'll reach out and leverage maybe 2, sometimes 3, depending on kind of my team's bandwidth, because the competition is healthy. And I do want to understand their capabilities. What they show you on slides is one thing. What they can do when solving a real problem in your house is another, right? And so we always pick proof of values or proof of concepts to solve a real problem. So I've looked at different tools, whether it's a monitoring tool, some sort of capacity management agent, et cetera. It's going to get installed somewhere so that we can test it out doing real work, and that my people, those human beings who have boots on the ground, can grade it.
Yeah.
And a lot of that feeds into the previous comments that I made. If you're kind of tracking with me, right? I get them engaged, they own it, we're picking tools together, I'll use my leverage, my position power to get the vendors to do what they know is right, which is show up for these proof of values because it's in their interest, right? Because they want to invest and grow their business and all that jazz. And then leverage my folks. We solve real problems with it, do a bake-off, create our scorecards, score it. And usually it's not just my team. So I will definitely start to fan out and get, whether it's different application partners or others, because the problem is all of our problems. So I pick a juicy one, right? There's no need to mess around, right? And then you get kind of their enrollment and engagement. And then once you've done that, when you take it up a level and they've seen how you've worked across the organization, and it does solve the problem, it does meet all the criteria, you know, that type of stuff, the funding, quite frankly, is just a matter of time. It's either going to happen this year or it's going to happen next year because the case is sold.
Well, okay, so has there ever been a time, or the last time that a project maybe didn't get funded, what did you do to solve that?
When it didn't get funded, it ended up getting funded the next year.
Okay, that's always the case?
Yeah, I plant the seed deep and then I water it.
Okay.
Right?
And you also, you usually start with a business justification. You start with a problem, right? Because we value our people's time very much, so we wouldn't start something that we know we couldn't finish.
The problem's the key.
Yeah,
the problem
is the key. So, I mean, yes, catastrophic things happen, but like the current situation right now for some people, but it's usually, there's a new normal, and then the problem that we're working on is rarely went away by itself.
Yeah.
Right? So for as long as the problem exists, you continue on. Yes, it may be paused for, a certain amount of time, but part of being a good leader is knowing what you should spend time on, right?
But yeah, I have not
So,
had that issue in a very long time. And a lot of that is we pause, we write down a stakeholder list. Here are the folks in my team. Here are the external peers, their bosses, the internal peers, their bosses. Okay, now we know who we need to expose it to.
Right.
Okay, what's the problem? Okay, how does this problem affect external peers? How does it affect us? How does it affect internal peers? Oh, this is a good one. They all hate this problem. Now we go after it, if that makes sense. And so I picked
you have to
things
know your organizational
on
structure,
purpose.
right?
Yeah.
You have to know your organization, and you have to know the people and the role that they play in decision making, and in order to get your project.
Yeah. So I haven't. It's just a matter of time. The longest I've probably had to wait was 2 years, but the people that were involved were so impacted by it, they wouldn't let it go either.
Okay.
And so one took 2 years later, as opposed to that year. And that was just budgetary constraints, other priorities, but it kept showing up, and the push it wasn't just me pushing, if that makes sense.